Hey guys, it's Angus, and I'm going to give you a review of the Tesco Hudl 2. So as the name clearly suggests, this is Tesco's second version at having a go at the tablet. There's certainly some really great things, and there's also some really bad things as well, and I'm going to go over all of them. So because it is a budget tablet, I actually already have cracked it, and I'll talk about that later. Starting with the left side of the tablet, it's got a micro SD and also a micro HDMI port. On the bottom, it's got a mini USB port for transferring data and also charging it, which unfortunately takes a really long time. On the top, it's got a headphone 3.5mm jack. And then on the right side, it's got a volume rocker and a sleep button as well. So for a budget tablet, this is actually really fantastic. For the processor, it's running an Intel Atom quad-core CPU, which is certainly good enough for basic tasks and some gaming. The speed is really impressive considering it's only 9mm thick. The display is by far the best feature on this tablet. It's just a little bit higher than the standard Full HD, as it's at 1900 by 1200. Unfortunately, the LCD is really bad at picking up smudges, but it's a really nice and bright screen. At 8.3 inches, it's almost an ideal size for almost anything you want to do, from movies, or looking at pictures, or playing games. It's just as accurate as some of the top tablets available, but unfortunately that results in having bad battery life, and it just drains really quickly. It's even worse that it takes a ridiculously long time to charge the battery fully. To charge the 4900mAh battery fully can take up to more than 10 hours. This is probably due to the quality of the battery, and I'm not surprised considering it's a really cheap tablet. So usually if there's one good feature on a device, there's usually a really bad feature, and in this case it's definitely the camera. The reason for this is that it's just really bad for its one and only purpose, taking pictures and videos. For this review, I'm not actually going to go over the picture and video quality, mainly because I've actually already done a video that specifically does that. You'll be able to find that video right in front of you, or you can go in the link description. But overall, it's just really bad. It's got good enough video as it records at Full HD 1080p, but I would certainly avoid using this. But it certainly isn't surprising that the camera isn't that good, mainly because of the price. So for connectivity, the Hudl has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0 and unfortunately no NFC. But the Tesco Hudl 2 is still a huge jump from the original Hudl. So while gaming performance still can be impressive, unfortunately the Hudl does actually get really hot, and it actually can get quite uncomfortable sometimes. But with a big screen, a thin design and also a Full HD screen, it's really fun to play games on. Unfortunately there's no 3G option, and also there's only a 16GB version, so you can't go for a 32 or 60GB version. But I think that's why they've integrated a micro SD card in the side of it. So for this price, I actually think the design is really nice, and I think Tesco have actually done a really fantastic job. Some people aren't going to like the plastic feel, but I really like it because it's smooth and it just feels really nice. It's also really comfortable to hold, and also it looks great as well. The fact that it's got loads of colour options as well is also a really great option. So a feature that Tesco have tried to boast about this is that it's got Dolby dual speakers, and to be honest, I think this is stupid as they're really bad. Also, the position of the speakers are really bad considering that they're at the back of the tablet. But to be honest, it isn't that bad, as I prefer to use headphones anyway. The Hudl is certainly too big to use for one hand, but I think it's really great for almost anything you want to do, from web browsing and anything you think that's productive and will look better on a bigger display. So when it comes down to Android, it's fairly well optimized for a bigger display, but to be honest, there are still some basic apps that just aren't good enough, like for example the camera app, and they just look bad when you're using a tablet. Surprisingly, they downgraded the front-facing camera from 2 megapixels to 1.2, which is surprising as a lot of people use them a lot more, but to be honest, this isn't really a problem. I find battery life really disappointing, considering that it has a big battery, and I usually find that when it's on standby, the battery dramatically drains. When it comes down to multitasking on a Tesco Hudl 2, it plays up fairly well, considering that it only has 2GB of RAM and quite a low powered CPU, but I usually find that it's certainly good enough for using a majority of apps, but when you're using heavy apps, the lag will certainly increase and it will be most significant. It would have been much nicer if Android could really take advantage of the display, as I think this is just a blown up version of the mobile operating system, and I think this is just annoying. While there are quite a lot of apps on the Google Play Store that allow you to take advantage of the display on your tablet, there are some apps that are restricted, and a good example would be WhatsApp. For some reason they're only enabled on mobile devices, and I think this is just stupid. So when you compare the Hudl 2 to the original Hudl, it's got a bigger and better screen, it's got a faster CPU, it's got double the RAM, it's got a better main camera, it's thinner, and it's also got more colour options. But unfortunately they do some stupid things like downgrading the camera. Now for some people that's not so bad, but for others that's quite a problem. Teenage girls. So unfortunately, because the screen actually costs so much money to manufacture, it actually means that to get the actual screen repaired, it costs a ridiculous amount of money compared to how much it costs to buy brand new. This is really frustrating, and it just happens that I'm one of those people that have happened to experience a cracked screen, and that's also because of the durability of the screen. It doesn't use Gorilla Glass, and that's also because of the budget cuts of the tablet. But of course the screen is still nice, and that's also mainly because it has quite a small bezel. What I think Tesco have done with the Hudl 2 is really excellent, and I really love this tablet. It's great value, and it also gives a really nice, good design with a great screen. If you're considering getting a tablet for the first time, then I would highly recommend getting the Tesco Hudl 2. What's also nice is that you can do things like using your club card points from Tesco to get money off it. So that is my review of the Hudl 2. If you did enjoy it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching. Of some pictures that I've taken, and also the rear and front camera as well. So here's the back camera, which is 5 megapixels, and it's recorded at full HD 1080p.